Today is like a very beautiful day in like a moody, fall-y kind of way. I know it's spring, so technically it would be spring showers, but there's just something about like when you wake up and everything's wet from raining all night. And it's not pouring outside, it's just kind of like lightly drizzling. And it's misty out and everything smells so freaking good. Like when I took the dog out this morning, it just smells so good. It's rainy and I love it. And I am a sun worshiper. Straight up. I live for the sun. When I talk about my limitless life, my version of a limitless life, it's sunny every day. But then we have days like this where it rains, and I'm so grateful. And honestly, we live in literally a pocket full of sunshine for Canada. Like, it's such a beautiful place to live. But days like today just, they remind me of home, which isn't far from here. Where I grew up is like 2 hours away. But I remember basically from, because it's a valley, you get super socked in. So basically from like when I was in junior high and stuff, it was like, and I would walk to school. It was like from October till February, end of February, it was pretty much gray every day. And it would snow through the winter parts of that, but it was like lots of wet gray days where everything just smelled so good. And that's what today reminds me of. And so I guess even if I am a sun worshiper and my limitless life has sunshine every day, it doesn't mean that I don't also appreciate the rain when it comes. Which is interesting because I have always identified as someone who just wants to be where it's always sunny. How interesting, hey? Yeah. Today I want to talk to you guys about something I've been learning, as well as something that I've been going through, as well as something that really makes a whole lot of sense and ties into everything that I have done as a coach, teacher, person, human being in this journey of my life. So I'm just going to tell you the story about what I've been going through lately. So I went to, a girlfriend of mine was studying to become a live blood analyst. And so she was taking this program here where I live, and she's from 2 provinces away. And so we got to get together, and it was lovely because, we were really good friends when we were both in college, back in like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And we worked at the same bar, and it was just, we went to the same school. We weren't in the same classes or anything, but we were pretty good friends back then. And so to have her here, it was really nice. Anyway, she was studying for this. She was taking this program to be a live blood analyst. And so she asked if I would come in as like one of her test people, like to try it out in the beginning, so that she would have at the end of her program somebody to follow up with and see if the changes that we made had made a difference. And so I didn't really feel like there was too much going on with me physically in a negative way. Like, I'm pretty fit and healthy, and I take care of myself, and I tracked my macros, and I did all the right things, and I've done a lot of emotional healing in my life, like a lot, obviously. And so I didn't really feel anything negative going on in my body, except that my monthly time was not awesome ever. It's always been pretty brutal. And then also I was starting to get some pretty crazy acid reflux. Like, basically anytime I didn't eat at home, I would have terrible reflux. And so those are like the only symptoms, and I just attributed it to being in my 30s, mid 30s, and that I was that was just kind of how life was going, and maybe attributed it a little bit to like the food, the food, what's in the food. We hear all about that with the pesticides and the chemicals and all of the stuff. So I just kind of wrote it off as like, this is my life now. My body hates me again, the end, right? And so I went for this blood test, and it's really simple. They just prick your finger. It's like one drop of blood. They're able to get so much information out of it. And what I learned was that my blood wasn't really that good. It wasn't, it wasn't awful, but it was not great. And my body, being the miracle that it is, was compensating like a motherfucker and using up all of my electrolytes. You couldn't see any electrolytes in my blood because it literally used them all. And the thing is that because my body was compensating so well, what that meant was that it was working really hard to compensate. And that works for a time because your body's amazing, but your body can only do that for so long. It can only pick up the slack for you for so long. And so I left that appointment with some new protocols. I'm not going to get into detail about what those were because they'd be different for everyone, so it wouldn't even be helpful to tell you. But with some new protocols on what to eat, what's right for me to eat, and some supplementation, because a lot of our food doesn't provide what I need. And so I spent 3 months being 80% awesome at it. And 3.5 months, almost 4. And when I went back for my follow-up appointment, my blood is actually as close to perfect as it could possibly be because of what I've done. And what I learned is that, if you have an injury or something that's out, like my hip, I have issues with my left hip, the left side of my hip, and that creates issues with my shoulder. And that, it's funny because I don't actually feel pain in my left shoulder. I feel it in my right shoulder because it's compensating for my left shoulder sucking because of my hip. Anyway, the body's an amazing thing, and it compensates and it adapts and it does what it needs to keep you alive. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is that is how important it is for your environment physically to be supporting your emotional health and the rest of your life. Like, when you're trying to call in amazing things into your life, you're trying to live limitlessly, you're trying to manifest, your special person and all of the healthiest, most abundant, beautiful things, and you don't have an environment to support all of that effort, everything is unilateral and it all works together. And I'm not saying that you necessarily need to go and have your blood analyzed and correct whatever's going on in your blood. But what I'm saying is that we want to create a physical environment that supports inner healing on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. And we want to create a spiritual environment that helps support your physical healing. And so mind, body, and spirit all work together cohesively. And that's why it's so important when we are looking to, become more healthy or become more abundant or, become more happy. We're looking for more peace. It's so important to check all of the boxes. It's so important to do it on all of your levels. Mind, body, and soul. Because I'm going to tell you right now, your blood cells carry your trauma. They are impacted by your trauma, and it happens instantaneously. Instantaneously, your blood completely changes and adapts to what's going on outside of you, to what's going on in your life, to what just happened to you. And so, what is so necessary when you're looking at the things that you think you need to work on is to think of it from a perspective of mind, body, and soul. Am I checking all three boxes? And if I'm not, how can I make it so that I am? So for me, I spent a lot of time in the fitness world, okay? Like a lot. I competed. I spent a lot of time coaching people on their nutrition, and I still do to this day. I have clients that I've been working with for almost 10 years, 9 years. This year is 9 years that we've been working together on and off with their nutrition, with their coaching, because it's so valuable and so important. But I started there for my own self, in my own journey. I started there on my own healing. And that was very awesome. But it only checked one of the boxes, and I never really got to the end until I learned how to embody health from a spiritual standpoint, from a mental standpoint. And if you are riddled with shame and guilt and limiting beliefs about yourself and your worth, where you don't think that you're worthy of all the goodness in the world, how are you going to decide that you're worthy of all the health that your body can muster? All things work together. So when you're thinking like, I need to lose another 10 pounds, I'm so desperate to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, when you're thinking about those kinds of goals, I would encourage you to choose the program that hits on all three levels: mind, body, and soul, that teaches you how to embody someone who knows that they are worthy of a long, beautiful, abundant life, regardless of what their body looks like, while also working to heal what's going on in your body. And simultaneously together, while marrying those concepts and embodying the type of person that you've always wished that you were, because you can choose to do that now. You can choose to do it right this second. The only thing that's in the way is what you're carrying in here. And so I would encourage you to choose the program that teaches you how to do that. That walks you through the process of unlearning all of the things that you've learned that keep you small, and stepping into your light. Knowing and learning and recognizing that your light is right here. That's what we do at the Academy. That's what we do in our coaching programs. Is that it's not just nutrition coaching anymore. It was once upon a time. And it's not just mindset coaching anymore. Because it was once upon a time. It's not. Now we've taken them all and put them together so that you have the totality of what you need to be able to completely transform your entire life, not just your waistline, but becoming the person that knows your worth from the inside out in such a way that it becomes unconditional. And when I say I would encourage you to choose a program like that, I'm not saying you got to buy mine. I'm not saying that you got to jump in, and I'm not telling you to come do what we do. You can, and you're always invited, but only if you feel like you're aligned with it and you feel like you're ready, because it's not a joke. And it's not half-ass anything. It's all in. It's all the way in. So what I've learned in my 10 years of working to heal all of the stuff, honestly, when I started, it had to do with my body. It had to do with being in total control over my body composition more than anything. I didn't care about my health. I didn't care about any of that. I cared about looking good. That was what mattered. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, because there's so many of us that are walking around looking at, working on ourselves, hoping that something is going to click, when really all we want is to feel good in our skin. But what I'm here to tell you is that I didn't truly feel good in my skin even when I was walking across the stage in a bikini, in the body that I worked really hard to get and become on a physical standpoint. I never truly felt like I was beautiful until I hit it on all three levels. Not just my body, but after I transcended those limiting beliefs, and I still work to transcend those limiting beliefs, that's where your freedom lives. That's what you're actually looking for, is the acknowledgement in here that you are enough, that you've always been enough. And that is the truth. You are enough. You've always been enough. Me too. But it's the acknowledgement that you're missing. And how do we get there? By removing all the things that keep you from acknowledging it. And teaching you about what you really are. And that's what I do. That's what the coaches in the academy do. That's what all of the members in the academy are doing. It's pretty freaking amazing. And when I went and did this blood analysis thing, and I went through the process of healing my blood, and I learned about how my blood got to be that way. It had to do with trauma. And even with all the healing I have done on an emotional and spiritual level, there was still the physical part that I hadn't mastered yet, because I didn't know. And so I had mastered how to make my body look good, but I hadn't mastered the health part. And so that's what this last step has brought to me. This last, what are we at, 4 months, 5 months since I had my first appointment there. And it reminded me, once again, the value of hitting everything on all the levels. Mind, body, and soul. Because you are all three. And if you're only hitting one, you're leaving the others behind. And in my personal experience, it just is really taking the long way. You'll get there. We all get there. But why are we taking the long way when we don't have to? You know? So, with that, I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. If it's rainy where you are, enjoy it. Go dance in it. Go for a walk. Smell the smells of wet ground. If it's sunny where you are, go sit in it. Let the sun touch your skin. Your body needs that. Your soul probably needs that too. And I hope you have the best weekend that you can. I'll talk to you soon.